Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us at this inaugural episode of the Burning Questions series. I think to set a scene a bit, I'll explain what the Burning Questions series is about. It's a panel-style cybersecurity discussion featuring people like yourself, the industry practitioners, as my co-host, as also the panelists in this discussion. Every episode, we want to deliver unfiltered, experience-driven opinions on real-world cybersecurity topics. And more importantly, also, there's no vendor spin, there's no fluff, really just genuine opinion and conversations. Sharp questions, real expertise, and increasingly questionable life choices. And I say that because the reason why we call the burning question is, here's the rules. In this panel, to make it interesting, every question asked, a panelist who is answering question take a bite of a specially selected, brutally spicy food item. The host, myself, will take a bite as well, because just to be fair, in participation, the escalating heat mirrors the real pressure faced by you in your daily job, in your cybersecurity industry career. And as hopefully the spiciness increases, as it intensifies, your honesty and candidness will also increase with that conversation. So really, this is the format that we're going for. This is cybersecurity under pressure, right? And featuring today's on today's menu, the special product that we have. Let's see which camera I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with that. This is the ultra spicy Korean tteokbokki that we'll be having today. Yeah, so every time we ask the host ask a question, then I'll and the panelists will then join me in taking a bite in this tteokbokki. Hopefully by the end of this session we're still alive. That's what it is. So episode 1 today, right? Really thank you all for joining here. The topic we want to go with is the hype word AI, right? Enough hype and fear mongering. Is AI really going to take your job? The reason why I chose this is we hear this all the time, that AI headlines are everywhere. Job losses, runaway automations, existential panic. But how much of it is real? And how much is actually noise? In this episode, we want to cut through the hysteria to unpack what AI actually does, where it breaks down, and how cybersecurity and technology leaders can use it effectively without shooting themselves in the foot. We'll explore how AI really works and why it can fail. In what are the practical ways that you can finesse it as a tool to increase productivity, how organizations can use it to keep data secure, use it to increase productivity, encourage adoption in the user base, while keeping data secure and risk under the control. So joining us today, I have Dr. Kevin Tham, the CISO at RDC.AI, who recently presented about this topic as well at the ISC2 Sydney event. In that session, you shared about adoption of AI, how you use it as a CISO, how has it become an effective and productive tool for you, and what are the lessons you've learned along the way of adoption. So that'll be a really interesting conversation we'll be having today. Is AI real? Is it coming to for your job? How to use it properly is a question. So let's turn up the heat.
Cool. Hi, Kevin. I think you all know me.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, CISO in RDC.AI, been in security for a long time, and in the name of the organization I'm in, we deal with AI as an AI company, and it's a topic and something that you cannot avoid in our day-to-day sort of basis in the organization. But the more I am exposed in this area, the more I'm convinced, and you can say I'm a bit more biased as well. So keen to jump into this topic a lot more.
Yeah, all right, cool. And also joining us today is Steve Espino. Mate, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, and great to be here. And similar to the folks around the table, I've also been in cyber for quite a long time, longer than my son has been alive, actually. So that says a lot. So I've been in cybersecurity across various industries as well. So that included managed services, telecommunications, and financial services, so critical infrastructure. pretty much. Keeps everything very, very interesting. I am also part of the ISC2 Sydney committee, and I'm curious to hear from Kevin as well about how he titled his presentation.
No, what was your title?
Yeah, the title I did was AI is not going to take your job. Steve is.
Why did you choose that title?
Well, it's a bit of a long story on the side. Related, not really related, but it was a bunch of us. And it's funny because we were out in a golf driving range, and Steve decided to start taking pictures, as opposed to another one of our good friend, Ajay, hello, who actually usually does all the pictures. And Ajay mentioned that night he was a bit slow, so Steve was doing all the pictures, and Ajay actually said, "Hey, Steve, that's my job." And that's where I went, oh yeah, that's a great idea actually, because it's not the idea that someone doesn't have a camera or the fact that no one actually has the skill to do it. It's just that someone else has decided to do it. By the way, Ajay is still a very great photographer. He knows how to do a lot of really good poses as well. Hats off to Ajay.
So I'm not replacing Ajay.
No. But you're taking some of the credit.
So the topic for the preso is my fault.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I just realized I asked a question and I didn't take it. So
that's an introduction. That's all right.
we'll put it on the tab there. We'll pick it up later on.
You can have double later.
Yeah, I'll have double later on. Also on this panel is my co-host for today, Saud. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Saud. People call me Saud. So I've been in cybersecurity for a while as well. It's about 3 decades now, mostly spending time in financial institutions, technology, banking, and insurance. Yeah. Yes. I'm hoping that this session will unpack a little bit more about the hype of AI. People talk about AI everywhere in every presentation, every meeting or even that I'm attending they're always talking about the AI. But most of the time I realize that the AI is just a hype. Everyone's talk about it, but they don't really understand what is this about and then what is the scenario they can use from day to day. I hope this session we can help unpack from the expert that we have here to give a little bit more information about what is AI for us. Should I start with the question?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I can start with the big question that I have here. Okay, maybe to Kevin. Okay, let's start with the food, or we can ask the question.
Start with the food.
Okay.
Then,
Start with
All right. Or to me.
I'll join because I missed one just now, right?
All right.
All right. Steve, you're lucky you're not.
No, I don't want to miss out, man. I'm gonna grab one as well.
This is awkward silence. All of us are chewing.
Okay, the question is, when people say AI will take a job, what do you usually get wrong? What people do usually get wrong?
What do people usually get wrong? That it is the AI that takes your job. And I think that was the point of the presentation that I made. There's hysteria, I think, of people thinking that AI is actually replacing people. And I create a bit of a presentation and I deal with AI on a day-to-day basis, not just from a solutioning perspective, but getting my team up to speed and everything else. So the use of AI within your organization is really, really high because of that as well. So yeah, people always get this wrong. They think that just because AI exists, you can get rid of 500 people, 800 people, whatever that number is that you actually see in newspapers. The reality is not. AI, as much as we would like to believe that AI is autonomous, and we are trying to get to that point, it just isn't at this point in time. But there's obviously a caveat to it as well, because it is a question about whether your job is of sort of how much complexity and creativity do you actually have in your business, and the kind of job description that you have as well. To say that you get zero job losses, it will not be true as well. But the reality is that the person who knows how to use AI is the one that would get your job.
Well, then in that case, AI is just another tool, right? The technology keep coming up better and better. And then last time we used to have like a letter sending with the envelope with the postman, and then you scared that people will the postman will be replaced by. Oh, Steve, I can see your
Steve is
I'm
sweating
sorry,
already.
I'm sorry. That was just once.
It's a food is quite spicy though. But the AI is nothing new. Yeah,
No, it's not.
interesting.
Look,
Yeah,
I think the yeah, I call it hysteria only because it's almost like telling an accountant, "Hey, stop using spreadsheets."
That's right.
Right? Oh, using spreadsheets is cheating. Right? We hear about a lot of that. So it is a tool, right? Accountants had to start evolving,
Yeah.
and the more they evolve, and they will actually utilize better tools, from spreadsheets to online accounting software. There is a continual evolution. Do we say that we're going to lose jobs back then because of this? Yes, there was also that worry there.
Yeah.
But guess what? People then figure out what other things they need to do. Right?
Yeah.
We're just more productive. It is a productivity tool.
Yeah, maybe for you, Steve, right? So we hear for Kevin already about AI. Now we are all the cybersecurity people. So what is actually AI? Oh, okay. Before we ask the question, we need to
Okay, more
ask. We need to
chili.
eat more.
More chili.
Yeah, you're gonna sweat more, unfortunately.
Please continue.
I'm trying to chew and oh,
You suffer as a host as well.
oh. Yes. Excuse me, everyone. So in your day-to-day work, Steve, what kind of challenges that you face when your business is asking about what is AI? How can I use AI from the security perspective? What kind of the thing that advice that you can give to the business people about AI?
So on a day-to-day basis, it's probably super easy to leverage whatever you have access to, and everyone's got access to it, right? So the barrier of entry to using it is virtually zero as long as you have access to a web browser or a phone that's got access to the internet. That's it. You've got access to AI. One of the challenges that we face is we want something done, right? And then we use the tools, including AI, to get that done. But we haven't generally assessed exactly what that means, what this model or this agent does with your information. And it goes both ways as well. It could be someone from the business uploading sensitive information to get an outcome towards the end, or the other way around, or a threat actor leveraging a model, leveraging techniques like prompt injection, so that they can exfiltrate information that was included in the model. So a lot of these things happen in the background, and the typical day-to-day user don't necessarily have visibility of what goes on in the backend. So it's a lot of, yes, we want something done, we want 100 times more productivity, but we don't generally think about how that happens and the potential repercussions because of the lack of visibility.
That's right. They keep up thinking that using AI will enhance their productivity, make the work faster, the output better. But they don't really think about this all thing that you mentioned. Yeah, it's just if they are making mistake, they will just amplify the issue that they with the AI. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like there's this is just like another shadow IT kind of thing, right? It's a tool that is a shadow IT. There is I've been hearing this conversation of people saying that, hey, we should have the ones that's authorized for everyone to use, and then we discourage the users from using the rest. But having been a user for multiple AI platform in my personal life, like for example creating this podcast, right? I realize different AI models are great at doing certain things more than the others, right? So how do you think companies can navigate that, right? Because if companies say only use one particular model, one particular service, And then there's different functions in the company. They go, I want to create things, and this tool is terrible at this. I need something else. It's like, do we then end up selecting multiple models to provide? I mean, that's the question.
Well, before you answer, I think it's fair for you to just
Yes,
take the
yes,
vote.
yes.
I want to answer this one, and I want to eat something.
I'm gonna answer as well. I need a break from the chili.
We need a break, Steve.
So before I answer, because if I wanted to answer, but I can't take the chili, does that mean I'm not allowed to answer?
Well, if you're answering yes, the rules are. No escape, man.
So yeah, absolutely correct. Having access to multiple different LLMs in the generative AI space is actually absolutely important, because different LLMs are good at different things. That's just the realities of it. I always find it a very curious thing when organizations decide to say that, oh, we've enabled the entire workforce to use AI, and then they give you one option.
Yeah.
I think we all can read between the lines which option that one is.
Yeah, as usual suspect.
Yeah. And then they walk away and go, "Yep, our job is done." I think that's actually a bit of we got to be really careful with something like that. Now, options is one thing, and there are platforms out there that actually gives you the ability to look into that, to provide as many options of LLMs as possible, to be able to do different tasks. Now, conversely, you actually have people who also then think that, oh, AI is just the magic productivity tool as well. Based on my personal usage itself and implementation, the reality is that it's actually more difficult than what a lot of people think. Mainly because it is not a magic bullet. And there is a lot more thoughts and process into it before you can actually utilize it as a productivity tool.
Can I add to that? And I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, please. I'll join you, since it's my question. Are you starting to question your life choices?
Ever since I met you.
Yes, you're gonna add to Kevin's.
Yes. Thanks for the reminder. Like on the choices of the models that you can use, going back to that one, and I think you touched on a really good point where if you trying to achieve something, you just went in, okay, I'll pick this model, I'll start and run with it, right? Sometimes you can end up in a rabbit hole wherein you're going to spend way more time trying to correct the output instead of just getting to the output that you want as well. So yeah, I've been in those situations, because sometimes we get offered just the one model that's available to us, and then you sort of like have to live with it, right? But on the other side, so that's sort of like the adding just to that point. But taking a step back, the process of whether or not the organization wants to use AI or not to use AI, except that will be a business decision, right? It becomes interesting when a position is taken, either to go and use it or not use it, or block a subset of it, or the whole thing, but not provide options, or say, yes, you can use AI, and you can go for your life, use whatever, which is very, very dangerous. It's also dangerous to say, no, you can't use AI. But the productivity question and or challenge doesn't change. We still want to deliver. We still want to increase the output. So people will find ways to do it. If you're blocking one model, they'll find another model, which can be a bit more dangerous as well.
I'll add to that, right? And You know, this is this is not an issue for me, right?
All right.
So it's only me. It's only me that's suffering.
No, I'm feeling it too.
Me too. Just don't stuck on your throat.
I think the blocking part is really dangerous. And I've had multiple chats with different people in the industry, and this is actually a chat that I had where someone actually said to me, "Oh, I blocked it in my organization." I went, "Great. How do you do that?" "Oh, on the web proxy, everything's all blocked, and we're good there." So, "Oh, that's very interesting. So, what happens with your phones?" And say, "Oh, yeah, everything's on MDM. We actually block it there as well." And then he basically went, "Oh, yeah, and we'll be fine." My response was, "Okay, including personal phones that don't have your emails. And people have their own personal phones." And he goes, "Oh, that's okay. At least they can't copy and paste onto it." And I think that was the biggest alarm bells for it, because then I said to him, "Yeah, they don't need to. They just have to take a picture, and the LLM will figure it out for you."
Yeah.
So I still do not think there is a credible blocking strategy in organizations that you can do this with. I really don't know. This is literally, we talk about data loss prevention. This is data loss prevention on steroids, right? So obviously, on the other end of the spectrum, we go, "Oh, let's educate everybody." Great, education is very important. Have you educated them? Number one. Number two, are you educating yourself first before you educate them? One of the things that I spoke about in my presentation was about education. We can't just go, "This is AI." Okay, what about it? There are different components in an AI built. It's not just the LLM. You've got the RAG models. You've got your data sources. You've got so many things. You've got MCPs these days. There's so many different components, right? We need to better introduce or better educate ourselves in the security industries in terms of how we protect our information. Nothing's changed there, right? When cloud was introduced, when computers were introduced, it's all about information, how we protect the information security. So when it comes to AI, it's going to go back to that as well. What are we trying to protect, and how do we protect it? Because the reality, AI is not just a thing. It is it's an ecosystem of things behind it, right? So it requires a lot more thought for us in the security industry to sit down and go, "Okay, I need to put some effort into learning this." And that's the important part. I think we're still missing. There's a lot of talk about AI, and there's a lot of fear about AI, but is it about the fear of uncertainty? Are you not educating yourself, with that information? So, yeah.
So just to give our audience more constructive or more idea in terms of what you're saying, right? That what based on your experience and you've seen your company blocking the AI on their website, what is usually the reason why they're blocking it, and then what is the alternative that they give to the business when they say no?
I can't speak with experience, mainly because
Oh yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, you cannot skip. Huh?
Yeah, we're gonna finish this soon.
I think next time I'll choose a food that's less chewing involved.
So we can
shots of it.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Just
do,
shots of the sauce. Huh?
you do a line. Less than 1 second. You do.
the spice come later. The chew come first.
Look, I think I like to believe that there's a lot more, a lot less organizations thinking they can block these days. But then they've now evolved into, "I'll give you the option of one."
Yeah.
And that option of one often becomes a bit of a letdown for a lot of people. It was a letdown for us too. In my organization, we used it, and I was so underwhelmed by it, to a point we go, "How is this a productivity tool?" Right? It's only when we actually went into the whole, "Nope, you know what? There is no control. In fact, it is a day-to-day sort of education that we do in my organization, right? Of how do we actually interact with it? What should we be doing? Granted, I come from a small organization, but it is a global organization. So, we actually have to deal with people who work overseas as well. So, I do have challenges in terms of speaking to everyone about it. But yeah, having the ability to give people options is really important. I've never been a big fan of absolute security control because I do not believe absolute security control works. And I'm talking about traditional security controls. You must always balance it out with usability. And in this case, it's just going to be option. The optionality is really, really important.
I think that's the important role in our job is actually to balance between the control and then the usability of the business and the running of the business. Right? Where is the right balance? I think that's the key how we advise the business. Yeah?
It's kind of like water as well, right?
Yeah.
You can never stop the flow of water.
That's right. That's right.
It's gonna go somewhere.
It's gonna go somewhere, and the business need to flow the water out.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
So the analogy I often use, right, is needle and haystack, right? As a security practitioner, we, on a day-to-day basis, we're trying to look for that needle in a haystack. Problem with us is that we create a haystack that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. We do more and more and more because we're getting more and more information. The problem with absolute security controls is that you create a much bigger haystack because more people will break it. More people, they're not intentional, they'll still do it. What's going to happen is that your haystack gets much bigger. So therefore, what we need to do is to try to get the haystack smaller. The haystack will never go away, obviously. But when it comes to usability and everything else, you're trying to get rid of the non-malicious people, right? They're unintentional people. You don't want it to be, if something shows up in your SIEM that goes, false positive, did we get the control wrong? Have we asked ourselves that question? Did we get that control wrong, right? Sorry, a bit of a digression, but yeah, absolute security control tends to make bigger haystacks, and yet we're still looking for that one needle in there.
I'd like to add to what Kevin said,
Yes,
actually.
please.
Please eat.
Of course.
Chili.
Of course. I'll pick the smallest one. Not that it matters, right?
It's soaking
doesn't
in
matter.
this.
It doesn't.
It's a blend of 3 different chili sauce. When I was preparing this earlier in the day, I feel like I was writing my own death sentence.
Your own.
Yeah, I was writing my own because I had to eat it too.
You're fine. I feel like you were thinking about me when you were putting this. So, talking about what you mentioned in terms of absolute security and talking about the balance, because I'm also of the same view that whatever it is that we implement and mandate and enforce needs to be practical.
Oh yeah.
It needs to be fit for purpose.
Mhm.
You can take a stance where you want to gold-plated your policies and standards and your frameworks, but can you meet it? Or how many exemptions will you have because you can't? How much of it can you afford? What's realistic for you to implement? So I wanted to add to that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.